And so theoretically, when the physicists talk about quantum particles, our new standard model of what makes up everything, it's all subatomic, and as a result, it's not matter. It's energy. So what we have is energy in an arrangement, and so it's kind of like a cloud. And that has to mean that everything, including tables and chairs and trees, all have some kind of a quantum cloud around them. And we do too. And when we think about it, in the Middle Ages, artists that could see these clouds around people.
Have you seen the movie Lucy, Scarlett Johansson?
Lucy?
Yeah. The movie's based on use of the brain, how we're all connected. The more you use the brain,
Yeah,
the
that's
more you can do with it.
that's actually absolutely fallacious, though, because the point is, how much of the brain are you using? I'm all the way up to 100%.
Well, I don't agree with that, but I agree. I agree
Yeah.
with people that use more of the brain understands more about what's going on around them.
Well, that seems pretty clear. Yes. I was looking for, well, so here's, oh, come on, give me a, so you see that, we call it a halo. I just picked up any old art. There should be one around the angel too, but there's a halo there. What were the Middle Ages artists thinking when they did that? I don't want to ask if anybody here has the ability to see auras around people. Any of you see auras? It's not that usual, I suppose. My wife has it. It's actually pretty frightening. I remember one time we were at the symphony, when we still used to be subscribers and went prior to COVID, and one of the violinists came out, and she was like, "Oh my goodness, he's gray." What do you mean? He's gray. And what does that mean? He's going to die soon. By the next concert, he had died. Doesn't that make the hair on the back of your neck stand up? You know, it's pretty strange. It's called synesthesia. Anybody have it? No? Well, you don't have to say. But synesthesia. What is synesthesia? Never looked it up, actually.
It's like where your senses cross over, right? In a sense.
Yes. So the senses blur. But the thing is, there are people, and the Middle Ages knew this, that some people can see what we would call now the heat around a person. It's a cloud of you, basically. So in the Middle Ages, they used to draw, these images. And what they were trying to express was the aura. And what is the aura? The soul. So the belief was that your soul is larger than the body. And that's why you can sense things around you that you don't, actually touch. There's an awful lot of that. We can feel heat from a distance. There's all kinds of sensory things in our skin that enable us to know stuff about things without actually physically touching it, and so on. So that's just interesting. And Stuart Hameroff argues he was an anesthesiologist. So he put thousands of people to sleep for surgery and brought them back up. He always jokes that, he only got paid for bringing them back. He didn't get paid for putting them under, but only bringing them back. And often when he would bring people back, they would report all kinds of experiences during the surgery. And this was impossible because he knew they were unconscious. because he was the one monitoring their consciousness with the anesthesia, that they don't actually know how it works. They don't know how it works, but it works even on plants. You can put plants to sleep. It's pretty interesting. However, so when you get down to the quantum particles and so on, we're a cloud of consciousness. So that's kind of interesting. And it seems like it's nice and entangled. They call it entanglement. I don't know if you've ever followed that, how that works and so on. And so the possibility of some sort of consciousness continuing after the body is dead seems a possibility there. If you're a Roman Catholic and grew up believing that you had a soul, and then science tried to tell you no, that was kind of discouraging. And so to reach a contemporary science that kind of gives you that possibility, that's like, yes, yay for that. However, let's go back to our back to the works of Plato and get back to the Republic. Unless you had more questions about the Meno. You did so there's the Republic. But what can we talk about? What's significant about it? I know where I have it. This is Grok again. Sorry, my favorite. I mean, ChatGPT is okay, but what I've discovered is Grok will get into things a lot more deeply. So I like Grok. Yes.
Grok free.
Yes. I imagine, they're going to get us to the point where we're so used to having it, and then all of a sudden we'll start saying, you can keep getting it for $20 a month or something, and then before long, we won't be able to afford it. So, I mean, they did that with other stuff. That's their sneaky way of trying to first make everything free, and then before long you end up having to pay for it. But hopefully there will be competitors out there that will be free when that happens. So I'm hopeful, right? Right now they're competing with one another, so it's free, although I'm sure there are ones out there that will charge you money to give you more opportunities. I think all the ones that offer pictures, so that if you want, give me a picture of President Trump in a bathing suit. There will be, you probably have to pay for that. I don't know. Yes?
It's in their best interest to lower the cost of entry because they need to train their models, so why other people when you can...
That's true. They're actually making a profit off of our use of it as well. Same as Facebook. Look how much information we gave I can't think of his name now. Zuckerberg. That was the name of the book. Okay, so I asked this morning, just because I'm getting lazier in my old age, right? I said, what are the highlights of the Meno? And so it's looking at the nature of virtue, which there's the arete is the Greek word. Can it be taught? And the question is answered in the negative, basically. Does it say that? This other stuff is because Grok has been working with me for months now, and I have a whole bunch of queries going on, and it keeps tying all the queries together. So it sometimes is pretty interesting. Clara is my Hegelian student, who's just for fun. So that's, if you're curious who Clara is, etc. But it connects all of them. So is virtue teachable? So there's some. Here's an interesting one though. Key moment. I hadn't thought of this, but it's Meno's paradox. If you know something, you don't need to inquire because you already know about it. If you don't know what to ask, well then, how the heck would you ask the question? Because you don't know the answer to the question. So that's an interesting paradox. But we do. We know how to ask about stuff. When the Grinch is talking to Cindy Lou Who, and she says, this light bulb doesn't light on one side, so I'm going to take it back to my shop and fix it up there and then bring it back here. Cindy Lou Who doesn't think to ask, how could a light bulb not light on one side? But when she gets older, she might think of it. How many folks recognize that reference, Cindy Lou Who and the Who's? Not very many of you. Gosh.
Have you heard her rock band, Cindy Lou Who's?
I have not.
The Pretty Reckless. She made a metal band after she got out of that.
No
It was
kidding.
super cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, an awful lot of people got out of Disney and became superstars and stuff. How about that? So there's the theory of recollection. To resolve the paradox, Socrates proposes that the soul is immortal and has pre-existing knowledge from a divine realm. That's a good word, isn't it? And he demonstrates this by guiding Meno's slave boy to solve a geometry problem without prior instruction. So that's interesting. Some of this is referred to as the Socratic method. You've probably heard that. A lot of teachers are encouraged to use the Socratic method. It's supposed to be much better than rote learning, etc. Of course, there's a problem. I mean, part of the problem, not only is who has the knowledge and why do some people not have it? If we all have a soul that is responsible for at one time being connected, is it this anamnesis process that if you've not been introduced to these things and been able to recall it, then you theoretically don't know it in the present time, right? But now let's get into the Republic. I think that's the Parmenides. I skipped the Republic this morning. So let me go back to the Republic as well. I'll leave this as it is. But so in the Republic, we were talking about justice. What is justice? And the first thing that we have to do is define justice, and they eventually come to conclude that it's giving each his own. And what on earth does that mean? Well, when we get into the issue of a just state, and justice is a characteristic of virtue of the state, you think, well, it should be a virtue of individuals as well, but they conclude it's the virtue of a good state. So depending on the kind of state you have, you either have a just society or you don't. But then within this just society, where each is supposed to get their own, we have a new psychology. Thank you, Plato. And this psychology says that there are three basic types of people. There are those who are rewarded by physical things. What they like are primarily physical things. And we actually all start out this way. Babies are mostly unhappy when they're uncomfortable and happy when they're comfortable. So the trick that the mother learns is how to keep the baby happy, right? And maybe some fathers too, actually. Sorry, I should throw that out there. But eventually, people grow out of this. But not everybody, apparently. In fact, when we think about it, we get a kind of a triangle. Let's see if I can find a